here we go. Encounters. Settings, structure. Uh, okay. So sometimes it can be fun to set your campaign or adventure in an apocalypse or an apocalyptic setting. Now, the apocalypse could have been caused by an alien invasion, a biological disaster, an asteroid. It could just be a religious judgment day, and that's why bad things are happening. Or there could have been a nuclear strike. Maybe it's the rise of machines. Maybe we're being attacked by robots right now. Rogue planet, not sure what that means. Supernatural invasion, that sounds like Judgment Day again. So sometimes the things repeat. I need to create motivation for your characters. Like greed, fear, revenge, needs, money, death, reoccurring characters, betrayal, tragedy, and choices. The structure will have choices in it, encounter variety, exciting events, which are paced very well. The pacing is great, it's just perfect. You need to engage your abilities to attack and defend in a role-playing style investigation. The sites and events take place in ruined structures, occupied structures, natural cavern complexes, sanctuaries, societies, depraved and both devout, ethnic, lawful, militant, savage, tribal, totalitarian. Exercise focused vocab list. Neck, shoulders, chest, arms, abs, butt, legs, calves, ankles. All these things are things you are going to be working on in the real world, or IRL, as we'll say, while you are playing this paper-based role-playing game. My nose is actually crooked. Oh no. Is it crooked? Oh no. Oh no. Okay. That's fine. Wilderness. In the wilderness, you're going to find forests and trees. There might be forest fires that you'll need to stop while playing the game. There are mountains that have slopes and cliffs and chasms and rubble, and you're going to have to watch out for avalanches. Maybe you'll take shelter for the night in a cave while you're in the mountains. There's going to be different altitudes and attitudes, deserts, sand dunes, heat, aquatic, hills, marshes, plains, open plains. Urban setting, law enforcement, walls, castles, towers, structures, crowds, rooftops, sewers, houses, mansions, bullies, bars, markets, theaters, stadiums, restaurants, harassment. You're going to get harassed by random people in urban settings. There could be animals, and that could be a problem. If there's an animal in an urban setting that needs to be dealt with. What if you found a corpse and a murder just took place, and you need to get to the bottom of it? Or what if there's a lost child, and you need to help that child get home? What if a robbery is taking place? You need to stop the robbery. So the campaigns will have to deal with monarchy, tribal clan, feudalism, republic, meritocracy, theocracy, corpocracy, tyranny, socialist, capitalist, cabalist, communist, utopia, dystopia, golden age, depression, eras, aftermath, generation O, dark ages, new world order. Okay, so I'm going to go over some parts of the character creation real quick. You get points that you get to place in different things, like equipment, points is a thing, so it's points, equipment, health, mobility, free running, reflex, melee skills, power attack, melee, defense, martial arts, magic, psychic, astral projection, cosmic flux, meta power, things like that. A list of opposer types. 1. Aliens. Aliens have advanced technology. Psionics. Evil psychics. Possible flux sensitivity. The flux is, any being's ability to interact or communicate with all the naturally occurring energies in the realm or dimension they are in. And all beings have that innate ability. So that covers aliens. Now, the second thing you might be fighting are animated objects. Now, animated objects are usually animated by a wizard or something, so they can be dispelled. 3. Animals. Animals are melee fighters. They have touch-based combat, with a few exceptions. Celestials. Celestials are always lawful good. Dragons. Dragons fly around and breathe fire or other elements, but they usually have a breath weapon. And fantasy races. Fantasy races use magic. Fiends. Fiends are chaotic evil. Fungi. Fungi cause infections. Giants. Larger sizes. Golems. Immune to magic and criticals. Elementals. Immune to criticals. Lycanthropes. Damage reduction, silver, and a beast mode. They transform into wolves or other animals. Mutants. Mutants have mutations and resist radiation. Mythological. Mythological creatures are limited by their definition or description by their creator. Plants. Plants are weak against fire. Oozes. Oozes resist physical damage. Robots. Robots are immune to mind-affecting abilities and are weak or vulnerable to electricity. Swarms. Auto damage and resist weapons. Undead. Undead are immune to mind control and immune to critical. Vehicles. Vehicles move very fast, have damage reduction, and heavy weapons. Now, the template encounters that we're going to be seeing usually fall under the guidelines of 1. Commander and troops, which is usually 1 elite and 4 soldiers, or 2. Double-line infantry and artillery. That's where you have a row of melee fighters and then a row of people with range weapons standing behind them. Battlefield control. Now, that can be a little bit more difficult because they'll have a leader, a controller, and 4 minions. The leader will be barking out orders, while the controller will be using splash damage or area of effect attacks. But if you're in the, like throwing grenades and stuff, the minions will just be, the ones, the pawns, moving around at the leader's command. Then there's a Wolfpack. Now, a Wolfpack is a squad of mobile skirmishers and aerial harassment, flying things, or any kind of, skirmisher that isn't just, difficult to hit, but is actually out of reach entirely. Boss fight. Every now and then, there's going to be a boss fight, and a boss is an overpowered solitary individual. Now, the basic unit template is X level, X HP, X, XYZ, X speed, X VP, 1/10, X D, D1, 5, X F. and that's XYZ, XYZ, XXYZ. Okay, and that's going to be creating all the different beings and the different universes that we're going to be visiting in different realms, inner universes, outer universes, multiverses. Eventually, we should get to an omniverse where all the different realities are inside one over reality, though it might take us getting through a couple multiverses to get to that point. So then there's going to be skill challenges, and when you level up, the number of successes before half as many failures, every attempt costing stamina, and every fail taxing a healing surge or something like that. But there has to be some kind of negative, slap on the wrist penalty for failing to do what you were supposed to do. Okay, now the monad size scale at -11, you have fractal machine elves, and they are one googolith of the size of something. They are very small. A googol is 10 to the exponent of 100, or it has 100 zeros after the 1, and a googolith, or 1 divided by googol, is incredibly small. So fractal machine elves are very tiny creatures. They're probably a lot smaller than your Sol. Your Sol is actually at the -35th exponent, so fractal machine elves are way smaller than your Sol. Tiny, like even vibrating strands of energy called gravitons in string theory. Fractal machine elves are way smaller than that. Way small. Think tiny. Really diminutive. Okay, so then after fractal machine elves, we have microverses. Now, a microverse exists at 1/10,000th of the size of something you would expect, so it's still real tiny. But what a microverse is when thought erupts and passes of consciousness. When consciousness is let out and it passes over a medium of matter, usually gas, it could be solid or liquid states of matter too, then that fractals and reverberates the matter so that the matter actually goes into a dream state that is random and chaotic based on the consciousness that passed over it, and that'll cover microverses, and those are at 1/10,000th of the size. So then we get to vibrating strings. Those are the energy I was talking about, which just vibrating strands of energy making they're called gravitons, and they just make up subatomic particles, which we're about to go into, and the vibrating strings are at 1080p. So they're small. And then we've got particles, and particles are 1/360, and atoms are atoms exist at 118th the size that we do. So really small. An atom is 100th your size, and those make you up as a person. And there's only 118 of them. It's completely infallible. It's on the periodic table of elements, and we use those to figure out the rules of possibilities. Just the possibilities of what could happen in space. Yeah. And then after atoms, we have molecules, which is 1/70th the size of me, and molecules are formations of atoms, and yep, and then the molecules make up cells and bacteria, and cells and bacteria aren't a whole lot bigger than molecules. Now, these cells and bacteria band together to make ants, little tiny spider-like horses, and then the spider-like horses evolve into spiders, and then the spiders become cats, and then a cat becomes a dog, and then the dog becomes a man or a humanoid. It could be a humanoid of any creature or creature type. And after humans, it goes pony, horse, elephant, whale, dinosaur, and skyscraper trees. Trees the size of skyscrapers, or trees so tall they scrape the sky, like redwoods or the cedar forest. And then it doesn't get much bigger than skyscraper trees until you get to mountains. Now, mountains are big. Think big mountain, okay? And then after mountains, mountains are at times 100,000 your size, and then it gets bigger. It goes to a continent. Now, a continent is actually 10 to the exponent of 10 your size. And then it doesn't get much bigger than that until you get to hemisphere. Now, when you get to hemisphere, there's only one thing larger than a hemisphere size thing, is a planetesimal. Now, a planetesimal object or being, if it has planetesimal in its size description, that means it's the size of a planet. But it could be anything the size of a planet between, like, Mercury to Jupiter. So I think Mercury and Jupiter. And the planet size, it's called planetesimal. And then after that, you get solar, which is star scale, which is 10 exponent 15. And then it goes star cluster. Now, a star cluster is a formation of stars that like each other, so they kind of hang out, around each other. Even when one star is moved someplace else in the galaxy, a lot of time, stars will follow that star and stay in the same formation, so that the stars of the night sky don't change, but maybe you move to a different galaxy, or, a lot of stuff happen. But anyways, after star cluster size, you get to a galactic arm. Now, if you're the size of an arm of a galaxy, you're getting pretty big now, And the only thing bigger than a galactic arm is a galaxy itself, which is about the size of a Google. But it gets better. So once we get galaxy sized, we're going to be taking on superclusters of galaxies, and even though a supercluster of a galaxy has 10,000 galaxies in it sometimes, it's still only listed as about 4 times larger than a galaxy. So then after you're doing superclusters of galaxies, you just need to take on the entire cosmos, which is a googolplex. And then after the entire cosmos, it gets multiverse, which is a googolplex to the exponent of 2, and then multi-multiverse, which is googolplex to the exponent of 3, multi-multi-multiverse, which is googolplex to the exponent of 4, and then it goes omniverse. And once you get to omniverse, where all the different multiverses are inside of the omniverse, that's googolplex to the exponent of 5. So that is 5 googolplexes multiplying each other. So huge number. Think big. And I still more to cover. Okay, we're going to talk about armor and melee weapons and guns for a second. Okay, so armor scales to infinity. Armor just gets better. Armor has a subtraction check equal to its rating unless you have Armor Pro. We're going to be going into that later. If you get the perk Armor Pro, you can wear any armor and it won't affect your abilities. So if you're going to be wearing armor, you should probably get Armor Pro. After armor, we have melee weapons, and there are about 5 or 6 types of melee weapons I'm going to describe. One are light melee weapons. Light melee weapons use either your physique or agility to attack. Then you have one-handed or dual-wieldable, like light are quick weapons. One-handed are slightly larger, but still one-handed, so you can dual-wield them or wield them two-handed. But you're getting a real big weapon. Some weapons take 2 hands to use, and we call those two-handed weapons. And there are piercing weapons and slashing and blunt weapons, and those can all be light, one-handed, or two-handed weapons. But the type of damage they do is different. When wielding a two-handed weapon, you get to add your physique modifier twice to both the attack and the damage. So then you have piercing. And piercing weapons, they have half the damage but double the penetration. So if you're having a tough time getting through something's armor and doesn't look like it has much health, go for piercing attacks. Slashing weapons are good for cutting open an opponent and having their blood pour out of them, because then you don't actually need to do that much damage to them because they'll just bleed out and die. So slashing weapons can be very useful. Blunt weapons are good for just sort of giving someone a message, knocking them back, knocking them down, things like that. Okay, and after that, what I'm going to do is cover guns. So there are types of guns, and they all have stat ratings. We've got DMG, which is just damage. That shouldn't be capitalized, because having it capitalized makes it look like it's an acronym, when actually it's just a weird abbreviation, DMG for damage. And they do have damage ratings. ECR, that is an acronym. That's effective combat range. Now, the effective combat range is how many feet away the weapon can be fired and still be accurate. Then there's ADS, that's aim down sights. That's how much of a bonus do you get with your accuracy for looking down the scope, using the reflex sight or the iron sights of a weapon. And you can increase those by fine-tuning your weapon, getting laser pointers, maybe duct tape a flashlight to it or something. And then you have the weapon's attack, penetration. FR is fire rate, how many bullets can it fire in 6 seconds is important to know. Recoil, like how much kick does the gun have. Magazine size, like how many bullets can the gun shoot really quick. I mean, that's fire rate. But magazine size is, the ammunition in the box container that you put into the gun. Okay. And then reload speed, how quickly can you put a new magazine into the weapon and then start firing again. Okay, so that's what guns are like. But I'm going to go on for a little more, because there are about 6 or 7 types of guns. There are pistols, SMGs, assault rifles, light machine guns, snipers, and shoddy. Now, there is one more weapon I'm forgetting here, launchers, like rocket launchers. We just call them launchers, though, because we don't know what we're going to be launching. But, you use those whenever you see a squad in too tight of a formation, or if they're using a vehicle against you. It can be pretty easy. Like, you think you're safe in the vehicle, but all you need is someone with a launcher, and they'll just take that vehicle out, and everyone in the vehicle dies at the same time. So you might have been better off just running around, not in a vehicle. Okay, and that covers the first part of, what the game's going to be about. Now, on the